Clown Camp. As a child, I tried to get others to like me by acting like a fool. By my reckoning, if I was not the funniest kid in my year at school, I was probably in the top 3. I had a large number of goofy jokes and gimmicks. My classmates always used to laugh at me, which inflated my groundless self-confidence, until I was, by degrees, flattened under the disappointing realization that I was not a clown. But before I found that out, I would dance ridiculously, or contort my face, or deliver nonsensical punchlines. And because of this, my 3rd grade teacher recommended me to a summer clown camp. I was too young at the time, but the camp admitted me, having recognized the doubtful distinction given me by my mother and teacher of precocious buffoon. I proudly accepted their recommendations. This was what I always wanted: recognition that I was funny, and an opportunity to show off. Clown camp was only a day camp, so each day my mother dropped me off with my lunch in the morning and picked me up in the afternoon. The first day we all sat in a circle under a tent. I was admittedly intimidated by the large cast of middle school-aged clowns. We played games to remember each other's names. I sat quietly among the other clowns circled under the tent, and when there was a break I sat and said nothing. An older girl walked up to me from across the circle. She introduced herself and I politely replied. Then she motioned to her friend across the circle and told me that her friend thought I was cute. Then she asked me whether I thought her friend was cute. I can't remember whether her friend was cute because I did not know then what cute looked like. So I answered the question with a simple no, thinking that was the best answer. Sadly, the older girl told me this meant I now had a large group of enemies at clown camp. I regretted my answer as I looked furtively across the circle at the crowd of angered lady clowns. The days of clown camp dragged, as I was unwilling to act foolishly because of the unknown environment and people. I went through the games and exercises quietly and seriously, as though I was learning how I ought to have been completing the schoolwork I had avoided with my tomfoolery. Much of the time, I preoccupied myself by thinking of lunch and snack, and by compulsively drinking water from the water fountains and my water bottle. One day I was so intensely anticipating lunch that when we got called to load the van and drive to our next exercise, I got my lunchbox, thinking it was lunchtime. Before we had gone very far, my instructor saw my lunch bag and chuckled, maybe guessing that it was for a gag. He asked me why I had it. When I told him it was my bag for lunchtime, he gave me a look that I read to mean, "Do you not have any sense of time?" It was 2 hours before lunch, so he turned the van around. The questions of the other clowns, "What's happening? Why are we turning around?" were answered when the bus stopped at our starting point, and I walked off sheepishly and ineffectively hiding my lunch. I reboarded with my eyes down and face painted red with shame. On a van full of clowns, I felt like a fool. By the time the final day came around, I was prepared to leave. Despite my past embarrassment, I maintained my 2 preoccupations of fantasizing about lunch and absent-mindedly chugging water. We were all outside, and the seasoned clowns, who would be doing considerable performances in the presentation to our parents, were practicing, while the bench-warmer clowns slopped around and occasionally stepped in for a line or two. I had asked to leave for the bathroom twice already in the past hour, and was starting to feel the need to go another time. But I did not want to ask again for the bathroom and have the other clowns thinking that I had a bladder dysfunction. No, despite my other oddities, they would at least think that I peed with the frequency of a normal person. Instead of asking to go again, I decided to fidget uncomfortably and then to dance around, concealing from everyone that I needed the restroom. Not long after I had begun to jog in little loops, I gave up. I got permission to leave and sprinted for the bathroom, which was up a hill, around a fence, and through a small market area. Having now abandoned my facade of not being in desperate need of the toilet, I decided to leap over the wooden fence rather than waste time going around it. It was an easy enough jump, but my back foot caught the fence's top beam, and I fell to the ground and saturated my shorts with urine. I got up as quickly as I could, ran to the bathroom, and locked myself in one of the stalls. I sat on the toilet and cried a little. When I had gathered myself, I began to estimate how much time would pass before I had to participate in the rehearsal. Maybe there would be enough time for my shorts to dry. Or maybe they wouldn't notice that I was gone. Whatever would happen, I was not going to walk down the hill back to the group with a big P mark down the middle of my shorts. I sat in the stall and waited. It was maybe 10 minutes later when an instructor came and found me. He talked to me from outside the stall, and I was forced to answer that question usually reserved for boys half my age. Did you have an accident? I tried to excuse myself by saying something about the fence, but found that there is no way to keep any of your pride when you answer yes to that question, and that a man best answers that question with only one word. My instructor went to fetch me some spare shorts a female instructor had, which were way too big for me. He passed them over the top of the stall with a plastic bag for my wet ones. I then rejoined the group to play my part in the skit. Because I was the kid of the group, my role was to sit on one of the other clowns' shoulders and yell a tykish line that started a cream pie fight. Despite the obviousness of my having recently peed myself, the boy wholeheartedly lifted me on his shoulders.